Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back too. I guess this, look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, and there's going to be a parade in my county. That's right. The Florida Panthers end up winning the championship. We will talk about all that and more. We'll hear from a lot of the cardiac cats, as they're calling it. First time ever in franchise history. The cup is being raised in Sunrise, South Florida. I'll tell you all about the parade that's coming up as well. They defeated the Edmonton Oilers. More on that here on the show. Also, guest contributors on the show. We'll talk some NBA. Jacob Camenker on the program. NBA draft is coming up. Can never talk enough NBA draft. So we'll do that here on the show. In addition, talk some baseball as well. Also, don't forget, we've got guest contributors from Legal Sports Report. Today in the house is Matthew Waters with the very latest going on in sports betting going on across the country. So stay tuned for that and a whole lot more on this edition of NewsWire. Every day, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. Let's start with the game last night. Most hockey I have watched. I don't think I've watched a full hockey game like I watched last night ever. And I watched that thing from start to finish, folks. The Panthers and Edmonton Oilers lived up to the billing. A one-goal game for the majority of the game. Opened up the scoring Florida, followed by an Edmonton goal, and then the final score ends up being 2-1. Sergei Bobrovsky just had a huge, huge game, stopping goals left and right in the second and third period. One of the more impressive goaltender performances, but let's just call it what it is, a historical series with the Panthers going up 3-0, the Oilers coming back to tie it at 3, and inevitably needing the Game 7 and needing both goals to end up winning the Stanley Cup and the championship. So there you go. The NHL season comes to an end, and you've just never seen anything like this on an NHL graphic, with the first team winning 3 games, the next team winning the other 3 games, and then it coming down to one goal in the end. Just an incredible series and a great series for the NHL. I can't wait to see what the ratings end up being for this game. Meanwhile, put a bow on the career of their head coach, Paul Maurice. Maurice, of course, took over under unfortunate circumstances a couple of years ago, but naturally, after getting to the finals and coming up short last year, was extremely emotional about winning this year.
So in our small little world down here, these guys had to work really, really hard, which makes no sense because there isn't a Stanley Cup champion that didn't, right? We're all saying the exact same thing. This was so hard. This group was different from the time I called them 2 years ago. I kept getting off the phone going, these guys are different. And I think that you people would appreciate it, truly appreciate it. Because let's just say I'm an ass. And you got to deal with me because I'm in pro sports and I'm the coach, and my guys aren't like that to deal with. They aren't like that for me to deal with.
Funny for Maurice. So it went from a championship to theater of the bizarre, because you don't see this that often. In fact, in professional sports, you almost never see a team celebrating on the ice for the championship, and then they give what's called the Conn Smythe Trophy out to the best player throughout the playoffs, and it's not a player on the championship team. In fact, it was a player on the other team. In this case, it was Connor McDavid. He ends up winning the Conn Smythe. Now, I mean, in the final, I mean, McDavid, extremely quiet for the beginning and the end, and was the best player in the NHL in the middle. So I guess this is what happens in pro sports. Gary Bettman made the announcement. It looked like the stands, like everyone in the crowd was like, what? This is sort of bizarre. Some people, don't understand that the Conn Smythe is for the entire playoffs, by the way, not just the final. McDavid talked about winning that after the game.
You knew it was going to be tight, Game 7 for the Cup. You knew it was going to be a real tight game, and it was going to come down to one thing here and there. And, we're an inch away from going ahead 2-1 right before they go ahead 2-1. And, it's tough. They do a good job of shutting things down, and we had our looks. Just didn't find it. Yeah, really proud, proud of the way we fought all year. We were behind the 8 ball almost immediately, and we fought an uphill climb for months and months and months, and just sucks. Goes back to the character of the group that we showed all year long. We showed all year long that we could fight back, even in the most dire situations, and obviously tough to be down 3, and tough to string 4 in a row against a good team like that. But we were right there. Obviously, I guess an honor with the names on that trophy, but yeah.
Tough night for Connor McDavid, but he's got the MVP a couple different times. Nothing to worry about for him and his future. Meanwhile, the Oilers and Panthers are among the favorites to win the Cup next year. The draft's coming up for the NHL as well. Panthers are the very slight favorite, 9-1 right now over on FanDuel to win the Cup again, followed by the Hurricanes and Avalanche, and then you have the Oilers and Dallas Stars. Meanwhile, in the NFL, the end has come for Isaiah Buggs, the defensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy's been all kinds of trouble. Domestic violence issue back in Alabama in June. He was charged with misdemeanor counts of second-degree animal cruelty in May. Buggs is going to be looking for a new team, but got to get himself out of this legal trouble that he has in. Meanwhile, Major League Soccer's attendance is up tremendously, 12% from 2023. 6.5 million fans have attended a total of 279 MLS matches, 700,000 more fans in the same date in 2023. And by the way, not just Inter Miami with Messi, also Kansas City, New England, and Vancouver are all seeing more fans. So naturally, a lot of teams are rising by more than 10% attendance. The Chicago Fire, Sporting KC, of course, Inter Miami, and Orlando, LA, New York, and Montreal. So really good news for the MLS. Also, Charlotte City Council has announced a $800 million plan with the Carolina Panthers to renovate Bank of America Stadium. They're going to stay there at least until 2045. It needs an upgrade. The plan was approved 7-3 on a vote on Monday night, and the city will pay most of the renovation costs under the plan, and David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, will pay $150 million for the renovations. All right, so College World Series didn't want to have to play on the same night as the Stanley Cup Final, but that's just kind of what happened yesterday. It's not that we're sweeping it under the rug. It's just it was a crazy night for hockey. But 6-5 the final yesterday. Congrats, Tennessee Volunteers. They take the World Series title in college. Christian Moore hit a leadoff home run. Dylan Dreiling went deep for the 3rd time in 3 games. He's been great. And 6-5 victory. It was really exciting down the stretch. I was kind of going back and forth, and this is hard to change away from the NHL. Volunteers lost game 1. They end up winning. They're the first number 1 national seed, by the way, in the NCAA tournament to win since Miami in 1999. Also yesterday in baseball, you probably missed this. trailing 4-0. The Tigers had a chance to get a little bit of a rally going, and then the Phillies turned a 1-3-5 triple play, first time since 1929. Telling you about it shows no justice. My recommendation would be to YouTube this. You can find it yourself. Last night, Jurickson Profar walk-off hit for the Padres. They were down 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. They end up winning 7-6, although Fernando Tatis Jr. was placed on the injured list. So some good news and bad news for the Padres. They're hoping to get Tatis back immediately after the All-Star break. NBA, we've got some potential free agent signings. Rumor mill time for the NBA. Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors looks like he's going to ink a 5-year maximum rookie contract extension up to $270 million. That would make him the highest player in Raptors history. Chris Finch and the Timberwolves, after their great season, they've agreed on a new deal. It will be a 4-year contract. Don't have any of the financials yet there. Also, Dariqa Hamby has been named a replacement for Cameron Brink on the U.S. 3x3 team for Paris at the Olympics. And Caitlin Clark has won the Honda Cup for the nation's top NCAA women's athlete for not just what they do on the court, but also their leadership, academic excellence, and eagerness to participate in community service. So congrats to her. WNBA rolling on. We'll take a quick time out here on our show here on NewsWire. Jacob Camenker joins us next from Sporting News. We'll dive back into the NBA, everything going on in the association. So stay with us as we'll be back right after these quick messages.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
I remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys making this look so easy.
Tyrrell Hatton having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Answer for the time being at least. Now this is Abraham Answer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the open night lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Answer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. NBA, of course, the gift that keeps on giving. Lots of NBA news, notes, information, signings, rumors, etc. Let's touch on them with Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Jacob, great to have you back here on NewsWire, and certainly NBA free agency about to heat up. We're getting some extensions. We'll start off there. Scotty Barnes gets a 5-year, $270 million reported extension with the Toronto Raptors. Barnes, one of the great young players in the NBA. It gives me hope that my son can go on to do great things too, because Scotty Barnes went to my son's high school. So maybe he should just start playing the NBA. Although Jacob, my son's going to be a little shorter, I have a feeling, than Scotty Barnes. I don't know that he's going to be his height. But needless to say, great story to see the success that he had on the court and now getting paid off the court. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, glad to be here, Craig. We'll see if your son can hit that growth spurt and get up to that 6'9" that Scotty's in that range. And I think this is a good deal for the Raptors and just this team and Scotty Barnes, because you're paying a guy not only based on what he's done for you so far. He's shown immense potential. He's improved his three-point shot every year. He's really a do-it-all threat. He's a good scorer near the hoop. He rebounds, and he's a good passer. So you have all that, and he's a great defender. So it should be a no-brainer to give him this type of deal, because he's still only 22, 23 years old. He's only going to keep getting better, and by the time he hits his prime, he could be one of the best players in the NBA and was already an all-star last year. So you got to like this deal if you're the Raptors. You got to love it if you're Scotty Barnes. You're getting the maximum amount of money you can, but you know, if the Raptors want to build back towards being a contender, keeping Barnes was a key part of that. So I definitely like this move for them.
Yeah, and I think that the Raptors, building around Barnes is definitely the way to go. Now, as far as the NBA coaching carousel is concerned, Jacob, we have a coach that did not get fired. Congratulations. Chris Finch, not only fired, but got a contract extension. So I guess, Jacob, that means after next year, he gets fired, right? That's the way that this works. So he gets a 4-year contract extension. We'll hear about the money, probably, 40, 50, 60 million. And then the Timberwolves, what do you think next year? They're just they're not as good, and they fire him? Is that the way this is going to go? Because it seems like it's going like that in the NBA.
It has gone like that a lot. I mean, just look at Monty Williams, just became one of the richest coaches in NBA history. And after 1 year in Detroit, they said to themselves, we don't want you anymore. So there's always risk in hiring coaches in this current you got to win for me now market. I do like the fit of Chris Finch, though. He had the Timberwolves well ahead of schedule this past year. They were one of the top seeds in the West. It looked for a time like they were going to be able to get through to the NBA Finals. They knocked off the Nuggets. Anthony Edwards looks like a future star in the making, and he's really starting to hit his peak now. So I like the idea of keeping Finch there, keeping that system in place, and you have all this talent there right now. You need to make some small upgrades to the team. They've got to decide whether they want to keep Karl Anthony Towns as part of that future. I know he's been the subject of trade rumors for what feels like forever now. But I think by keeping Edwards and keeping Finch, you're saying this team should remain competitive. And as long as Finch doesn't show any major regression and the roster continues to listen to him, I think this deal will pan out for the Timberwolves. But as you said, there's always risk in coaching contracts in the current NBA because you got to win. And if you don't do it consistently, you're out the door.
It is. There's no risk for the coaches, though, by the way, because they get a guaranteed contract, so they get paid no matter what. Same could be said for Kenny Atkinson. He comes over to the Cleveland Cavaliers, speaking of a team that probably shouldn't have fired their coach. But Atkinson, a ton of success at the Golden State Warriors. Can he have the same success with Cleveland? I mean, he's got to be under the same pressure that they just had. I mean, I thought they had a pretty good year.
I did too. I was pretty surprised that they ended up firing JB Bickerstaff. I thought that they were going to ride it out with him one more year, and if they kind of couldn't get over that next hump, maybe they would consider a change. But I do like this Atkinson hiring. When he was with the Brooklyn Nets, that stretch of 4 years as a head coach, I thought that he really proved he was one of the better head coaches in the league at getting a lot out of guys on a roster who may not be elite. I mean, that year he took the Nets to the playoffs with a winning record. His best players were D'Angelo Russell, Jarrett Allen, and Spencer Dinwiddie. So it's not like he was winning with stars on the team. Ironically, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant came over the next year, and he didn't even last the full season before they moved on from him. So it was a strange situation in Brooklyn. I think this one's a little more stable for him, and I think his existing relationship with Jarrett Allen will help him out, maybe just smooth things over there. I know that there was some tension about Allen not going through a rib injury in the playoffs, I think, between him and Bickerstaff. So I think between those rumors and the fact that Atkinson just gets the most out of young, talented players, I think this Cavs team has a pretty high ceiling with him in tow there. We'll see what he ends up doing, but I do like this hire. I think it might be one of my favorites of this offseason.
All right. Well, good to hear that Cleveland is going to at least get the same or better results from their squad with this new coach. All right. Let's get to the NBA draft. It's coming up, and all the drama is surrounding Bronny James. What's really funny about this, Jacob, is as I have not heard any, and listen, I follow this stuff. I have not heard any discussion on the first round of the NBA draft. This is like the least discussion I've heard in years on the NBA draft. It's all surrounding Bronny James. We could literally go the first day of the draft and not have him drafted. But it's the hot topic, I guess, still going on here. Lakers just keep moving up on FanDuel as a higher favorite from 110 to 125 to minus 135. Seems like a foregone conclusion that he's going to end up there. And if you take a look at the odds to have the number 1 pick overall in the draft, let's flip over to that. And here are some of the names here: Klingon, Starr, Castle, Buzelis. I don't know. You tell me, Jacob. What is the big story? What is the drama going into the draft?
I think the drama is, like you hit the nail on the head. Where's Bronny James going to go? Because the possibility exists that wherever he lands, LeBron might eventually play. That doesn't mean this year, but it could mean future years. So if a team that isn't the Lakers takes Bronny James, then all of a sudden the LeBron to that team rumors are going to heat up. And the 76ers might be interested. The Timberwolves might be interested. Several teams could look at him. And then number 1 overall pick, still dramatic because we don't know who it's going to be. Zachary Shea has been kind of moving up that way, but Donovan Klingon's been mentioned and connected to the Hawks a lot. So I think we're going to just have to see what happens. But this reminds me of the Anthony Bennett draft where someone could just come out of nowhere, be number 1 pick, and everyone just go, oh, that's a surprise.
Right. It feels like that. It does. All right, Jacob, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up again next week.
All right, sounds good. Take care, Craig.
All right, we'll be back with the Sports Grid sound off next.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
I remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys making this look so easy.
Having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Ancer for the time being at least. Now this is Abraham Ancer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the open night lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Ancer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got a parade coming up on Sunday in South Florida. Looks like they're going to start over on Fort Lauderdale Beach for the Florida Panthers. That is the big story, is the first time ever in franchise history. The Florida Panthers are the champions of the world. There's also another story to this, and of course, that is the Edmonton Oilers. Let's not lose sight of what a great series it was, thanks to them coming back and tying the series up at 3. And also part of the story yesterday, if you missed it earlier in the show, was the Conn Smythe winner given to the best player in the NHL playoffs ended up being Connor McDavid, not anybody on the championship team, which is obviously a very big rarity, not just in the NHL, but in professional sports as well. After the game last night, Oilers' Leon Draisaitl talked about just how incredible the team was to get back to Game 7, and also his kudos to McDavid.
Amazing group of guys. So much character. It's hard to put into words how much character there is in this group, and I'm just really proud of. We stuck with it all year. Battled all the way to the end. He's the greatest player to ever play in my books. So many things that a lot of people don't see that he does. His work ethic. He, single-handedly turned our franchise around pretty much. So, just love sharing the ice with him, and he's just really special person. It's tough to put into words right now. It's really hard. You're one period, one shot away from maybe winning the thing, and now you gotta go through 82 regular season games again and play well enough to even get a kick at it, and it's hard right now.
Something that's interesting, it just occurred to me, I don't know why, watching that video, was Connor McDavid was drafted in the NHL in Sunrise at that stadium. That's where I was there. I was at that NHL draft. It was the first time it was ever there. Just realized that now. Kind of funny. All right, let's get to our social media correspondent. Subway Series coming up, Yankees and Mets. Here's Christian DeBlock with a preview.
The first edition of the Subway Series in 2024 begins tonight. Here are the biggest storylines heading into the matchup. The Mets are red hot, 13-6 in the month of June, the best mark in all of baseball. Francisco Lindor and JD Martinez are leading the way for an offense that is averaging 6 runs per game during this month. Mets have most certainly turned their season around, but they will be without Edwin Diaz in the series, who was dealt a 10-game suspension for a sticky substance violation on Sunday. The Yankees got off to an incredible start this season, but they have lost 7 of their last 10. And in recent days, the Yankees have lost both Anthony Rizzo and Giancarlo Stanton to the injured list. The Mets and the Yankees have split the season series in 5 of the last 6 seasons. Will either team jump out to an early lead this week? Back to you, Craig.
All right, thanks, Christian. Tonight, Garrett Cole, David Peterson, those are the starters in that matchup there. Meanwhile, we head over to the NBA, where a press conference yesterday was held by the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, J.J. Redick, who becomes the 29th head coach in history, putting a lot of rumors about his hiring to rest.
One of the things that kept coming up during the process with Rob, we kept talking about the word gratitude. And I think that's where I'll start, is just feeling so grateful for Rob, Jeannie, the entire Lakers organization for entrusting me in this position. And I take this responsibility very seriously. I have never coached in the NBA before. I don't know if you guys have heard that. My motivations for doing this, it starts with a very simple foundation of service. I think about the greatest moments, especially towards the end of my career, was about helping players. And so it starts with the desire to serve players, to serve the Lakers organization, to serve our fans. It's also about competition.
And Redick went on to say that he has not spoken to LeBron James at all until he was hired the job. Interesting footnote there. In addition, he said he no longer will host his NBA podcast. I would guess that is probably a smart move. All right, coming up next, Matthew Waters joins us from Legal Sports Report. We have a company in sports betting being bought out by another. I've heard that story before. We'll tell you which one this is next.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
I remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys make this look so easy.
Tyrrell Hatton having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Ancer for the time being at least. Now this is Abraham Ancer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the open night lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Ancer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
Welcome back to NewsWire. We've got a lot to cover with Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report. The state of Michigan looking to block one of the sports betting operators overseas is made for an interesting story. We'll dive into that. And also we bring in Matthew to talk about a company that it looks like did very well for themselves. The name Tipico, which I know that there are some people familiar with, maybe some others who are not. Matthew, anytime a company gets purchased, I think congratulations probably in order. Who ended up purchasing Tipico, and what does this mean for their future?
Yeah, MGM bought Tipico, and Tipico is actually owned by a larger group also named Tipico, but they're huge in Germany. So they have a greatly established sports betting business over in Europe. They know what they're doing, and when they entered the U.S., they did so a little slower than others, and they built their own platform. They didn't want to take anything from Europe. They said, we want to build a platform that kind of restarts everything. We can build it to what the American market is doing. But obviously, they had a lot of help from what they learned in Europe, building that platform over there, right? So MGM has the BetMGM partnership, as we know, with Entain. And MGM just did not want to be in a joint venture for international at this point. They said, we would like to do this on our own. They had tried to buy Entain a couple of times, and that just never worked out. And so they had said that they were looking for sports betting technology after they went out and bought Leo Vegas, another online gaming company that has a great online casino established in Europe, and they have a sports book that was powered by another industry supplier that we've talked about before, Kambi. So now MGM gets to take the BetMGM brand into international markets. It's already in the UK. They get to have that brand over there. And now they're going to be able to have everything under the hood of MGM, which should allow them, you always think about cost savings first. Those third-party contracts can get expensive when you get to a higher scale. So you hope to cut down on that. And then also you just hope to make the product better, right? You're going to be able to get things done quicker. You're not waiting on outside parties to get work done, so you can be flexible. They talk about, they always say, can you be nimble with your product? Yeah, they're going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to add games quickly. They're going to be able to add updates quickly. So MGM has what it wants now in the international market. This should have no effect on the U.S. market right now, but who knows at the end of their contract if MGM can now say, we're going to do this on our own. But BetMGM has worked out well so far in the U.S. with the two sides. Entain has admitted that it's been a little slow to act before to get BetMGM what it needed to be competitive, quite frankly, in the U.S. market with, the FanDuel and the DraftKings. So, is this an answer to all of those issues? We'll have to wait a couple of years to find that out. But right now, MGM is building itself its own iGaming operation.
I think that as the future kind of comes with some of these companies, especially the smaller ones, we've seen a little bit of this with, I believe Prize Picks was one of them. We saw Fanatics get involved. I am curious how some of the other operators will move forward, whether or not now is the time for them to get out. All right, Bovada, it was the time for them to get out of Michigan. You'll have to kind of catch me up here on the timeline here, because I had heard a few weeks ago that the state of Michigan did not want Bovada to be operating in their state. You and I think, kidded around about this. It's like, wait a second, they're already illegal. They're offshore. So what is the demand actually going to do? And it looks like Michigan, Matthew, has taken some preemptive steps here, kind of like you're not allowed to bet in states that's not legal. You can't even access Bovada at all now in the state of Michigan. So tell me how this went down.
Well, Craig, that's how it started off. Thursday, we noticed that Bovada had added Michigan as well as Colorado to its list of banned states. And at first, it wasn't available in Michigan. And now it seems like it is again available in Michigan and Colorado. And look, we haven't heard from regulators. They haven't wanted to confirm if the website is still available, but various people I know that live in those states have checked. We've been checking it via VPN in different places, and it does seem like you can still go on and bet on Bovada in these states. So yeah, Colorado and Michigan, and we have Connecticut as well now. They have sent cease and desist letters recently to Bovada, and they added them to the list of banned states, but it's not acting that way. For example, Craig, I live in Delaware. Bovada is banned in Delaware, and it actually is banned in Delaware. It's not just on the list. When I go to open it up, it says you can't access this. It doesn't even give me an option to create an account. It says if you have an account and you want to withdraw funds or something, you can log in here, but you can't actually do anything else. But that is just not happening in Michigan and Colorado yet. So, Michigan said that they were going to continue to monitor the process to make sure Bovada was completely complying with the cease and desist. And we're just not sure when and if that is going to happen completely now at this point. One other issue that I noticed too, when Connecticut sent their cease and desist, they made it very clear that they want their customers to be able to get their money back. And Bovada is only allowing cryptocurrency withdrawal in states that have had operations closed down. So is that going to be okay with the Connecticut regulator? I don't know. I asked and I haven't gotten an answer back on that either. And you can understand why there's a limited flow of information on the record here, Craig. It's a messy situation. It is hard because even though they have a physical address for this site, and obviously Bovada is known throughout the industry, it's still kind of a nebulous, where are they sending that cease and desist? Is it getting to the people that need to have it? And so this is one of those stories where you want to see the regulated industry win. And it's interesting that Bovada was quick to act on other states and is not now. And we're just going to have to see how this shakes out, because again, they can send a cease and desist as much as they want, but it's hard for a state to really shut down what a company is doing that's licensed in a foreign country somewhere else.
Yeah, no, this is a perplexing story, how it could be available and not available. I mean, once and for all, we got to figure out what these offshores are going to be all about in the future. All right, not a surprising story over at Legal Sports Report that I read about Penn Entertainment. I mean, the writing is on the wall here, Matt. Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like they were at their peak when sports betting began a couple of years ago, but everything since then does not give me a ton of optimism. And so what is the latest for Penn? And look, if they get bought out, just like Typico, just like some of the others, kudos to them. But it does feel like maybe that's in the future.
Yeah, there has been a lot of chatter now about Penn and Boyd Gaming, another regional casino operator that is a direct competitor of Penn. There's been a lot of chatter about Boyd now trying to buy Penn. And this all started when an investor wrote an open letter to Penn management, the chairman, the board of directors, and took them to task. And just said, look, it has been unacceptable to see the level of online losses that we've seen. They've burnt a lot of money, Craig. They've essentially set it on fire with all the Barstool stuff and then selling it back for $1 to Dave Portnoy. And so now Boyd is apparently interested in buying Penn. It's not going to be that easy, though, Craig. They own a lot of properties in the same states. They would have to find a third party there to buy that. And one analyst, Carlos Santarelli of Deutsche Bank, said if Boyd buys it, they are probably selling the interactive side of Penn and the ESPN partnership immediately. So you would have to have another buyer there. So now you're talking about 4 parties, and then Penn has a landlord, 5 parties that have to get on board for this deal. That would be tough, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and this one is heating up.
Yeah, definitely so. All right, Matthew, great stuff as always. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right, one of my buddies, Jose Mota, who of course broadcasts for the Los Angeles Dodgers, going to join us next. Talk about the latest going on.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau.
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
I remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. This guy's making this look so easy.
Having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Answer for the time being, at least. Now this is Abraham Answer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the open night lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Answer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. One of my favorites in the industry, of course, covering the Dodgers for Sportsnet Los Angeles. You can catch them on their broadcasts. It's going to be another fun year, I would imagine, for the Dodgers. It's already been a wild season, wild off season as well. Let's bring in Jose Mota, who's, of course, appeared on our show before. Certainly well-respected in the industry as well, and want his opinion on what's going on with the Dodgers this season. Jose, as always, thank you for taking a few minutes to spend some time talking Dodgers baseball with me. Thanks for coming on.
Craig, what a pleasure, man, and haven't talked to you in a long time, but good to be obviously back with you and to talk about Dodgers baseball and the way they've been playing up to this date is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. And look, I think going into the season, the expectations changed dramatically when you sign a player to a $700 million contract. And not only does a player, I mean, Jose, I mean, back in the day when you played and your dad played, I mean, to say that somebody lived up to a $700 million contract would have been insane to have that discussion. But here we are. This guy is out of this world, literally.
Shohei Ohtani has had every reason, Craig, to fail. I mean, think about this. Things started bad over in Korea, obviously with the distractions of his interpreter, right? And so many people that still didn't want to believe Shohei. But this kid has just always been so focused on one thing, playing the game right, being a good teammate, being a good citizen, and being accountable. And I think we've seen a production in which a guy that's has the ability for so many years, and I saw it, Craig, with the Angels, to just put things in the right compartment to say, what is it that I need to take care of today? Is it rehabbing my arm, which it's still doing right now? Is it taking care of being a good teammate and fitting in with Yamamoto and the rest of the guys? And my responsibility is also as a new member of a club that is expecting a lot from me. And the expectation for the Dodgers were the same as they are today before they got Yamamoto and they got Shohei Ohtani, but they have fit in so well just to make things even more exciting.
Yeah, they have. Now, I'm not going to ask you a betting question, but I am going to ask you I'm not going to do that to you, but I'm going to ask you about the possibility for those who are thinking about maybe betting on something, because Shohei Ohtani is going to be a very high candidate to win the most valuable player, Jose. And in all of your years broadcasting and playing, we have not seen, I don't believe, anything like this before, where a player that's just exclusively a designated hitter wins the MVP. I don't. Did David Ortiz play first base when he won MVP? I'm not even sure, but like this is the hot discussion right now because, as you know, Mookie Betts was the easy pick for the MVP, but now that he's out for a period of time, Ohtani is now the favorite. In your opinion, is it okay to give a player like this the MVP without playing a position?
I always say it this way. The designated hitter was created by baseball, not the player. The player didn't choose, hey, I'm going to be a DH and that's it. It is a position in which you develop your abilities, in which you fit with a team under the rules of Major League Baseball. So why should you not be eligible to win the MVP? What is it that you've done wrong other than to perform at the highest standards, which are called for? And remember, when you're a designated hitter, you know what happens if you don't hit? You don't play. So if you're performing and you're contributing to your team, well, there's no way to escape the issue of you being a top performer and a guy that's going to get some votes. We go back to the years when I was with the Angels and Mike Trout is putting up these numbers. And all of a sudden, the idea with the metrics and analytics is, wait a minute, why should we penalize this guy because his team is not going to the playoffs when everything was weighed on guys going to the playoffs and winning MVPs, right? So the same principle in a way applies now as to why should you penalize a guy for just being a one-dimensional guy as a designated hitter when perhaps, think about this too, if you're a highly performing offensive player and you're okay and average on the defensive side, does that preclude you from winning an MVP? No. So in other words, why are we penalizing a guy for not being part of the defensive side? And I can understand the argument, but overall, it is a new era. The DH is not only in one league, it's in both of them. And I think we need to move on to say this is what baseball has right now, because at some point, I guarantee you, it's going to come down to guys that are aging. You know, the Bryce Harpers of the world are going to be in the same spot at some point. Are you going to penalize them too because, you know, at 37, 38, 40 years old, they're not playing the field? Absolutely not. I don't think it should be.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And even in the previous, non-DH era, there were players who played catcher that moved to first base and third base. And look, positions just change. And as long as baseball has employed or deployed the DH in the NL, I mean, what else is Ohtani supposed to do? This is where he's playing. All right, so we know who the hitting is, on the Dodgers. I don't think that's going to determine whether or not they win the World Series, Jose. I think it's going to be the pitching. So Kershaw looks like he got a little bit of a setback, but, obviously not counting on him at the moment, at least. Now, let's talk about Glasnow, Yamamoto, because I would tell you in this day and age where pitchers are just dropping like flies, those guys, Jose, have been fantastic. Let's talk about Glasnow, Yamamoto.
Tyler Glasnow has brought everything and more. Consider that he is playing with a team that is not just supposed to surprise people. He is the guy. He is the guy with a bullseye on his back and guys are aiming for. He took the ball over in Korea. He struggled a little bit with a couple of walks, but this guy takes his job seriously. And then, Yamamoto is now hurt. But then overall, Glasnow is the guy that you want facing the number one guy. So he's not going to get a lot of run support, which obviously comes with what? Facing the number one, number two guys on the other staff. But let's not forget about Gavin Stone and Bobby Miller is coming back, and the job that Paxton has done. And then, as you mentioned, Kershaw's with a little setback, which is not a bad thing at all, because you want to make sure that when he comes back, he's back full time. Bueller, who is to me still an alpha dog and a guy that has a lot in terms of intangibles to bring. He's going to be back at some point, but I think depth overall, starting with Glasnow, he has stood up to the test. We know there's some concern about the innings and the starts, but at some point the Dodgers know better than anybody how to manage all these situations accordingly to make sure everybody's ready for October.
Yeah, and not only that, but I would imagine the Dodgers will get themselves ready for October next month by helping the team out and acquiring some players as well. Jose, always great to catch up with you here. And my best to you, my best to, of course, your family as well. And we'll talk again soon. Thanks again.
Same to you, my friend. Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jose Mota joining us here on NewsWire. Coming up next, it's time for us to wrap it all up with some last licks. The Florida Panthers win the Cup. Can they get the merch out fast enough? The answer is yes. We'll talk about it next. Don't go away.
Nashville, help me welcome to the stage the captain of Crushers GC and the 2024 U.S. Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau!
Gosh, I'm trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
I remember John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys make this look so easy.
Having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Ancer for the time being at least. Now this is Abraham Ancer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the overnight lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Ancer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up the show, the Florida Panthers have won the Cup. We'll touch on that. A couple other topics here to wrap us up. It's time now for some last licks. All right, let's start off with the former closer of the Boston Red Sox and also the Philadelphia Phillies, Jonathan Papelbon. We wanted to mention this yesterday on the show, but, honestly, not enough time. What about this social media post from Papelbon, who looks like he bet on Giancarlo Stanton on some under props here? How about this quote from Papelbon on social media? Finally, Stanton goes on the injured list. This is what my under in home run total for the year needed. Oh my gosh, did he really say this? I knew he couldn't go all year without landing on the IL. Is this 8-9 years in a row? Take your time, Mike. I mean, Giancarlo. Don't need to rush back. Now, look, I understand that Papelbon's trying to get attention here, okay? No doubt about that. And by the way, he's not a current player, so he can bet on whatever he wants. That's indeed the case, too. And this day and age, there are some media types out there, let's be honest, that are saying, look at me throwing stuff out there. But, man, you took a very deep shot. Did anything happen in the past with Giancarlo and Papelbon that I don't remember? Maybe something that happened when he was with the Marlins and Papelbon was with the Phillies or the Red Sox? Because, I mean, I looked it up. I couldn't find anything. Needless to say, yeah, Papelbon's going to win that bet. And also Stanton has been hurt over the last, forever. So all those things are true, but I don't know that I love the optics there of taking that shot. Maybe it's a Yankees-Red Sox thing. I don't know. All right, the Florida Panthers end up winning the Cup last night. Congratulations to them. When this, happens, what also happens is, and maybe it was even happening in Edmonton too, with the game tied at 1, you got to figure out how you're going to get the merchandise out. And there was a company in Fort Lauderdale, get this, last night, just with all of these T-shirts, waiting to see if they were going to end up winning the championship. Now, in the past, what you've seen is these companies, they produce the shirts before it ends up happening, and then we all make fun, like, oh, what are they going to do with these shirts? And then you just see them on the side of the road. So this company in Fort Lauderdale says that in order for the Florida Panthers team shop and also another one in Fort Lauderdale, because remember, the Panthers play in Broward County, they produced overnight, get this, a total of 10,000 T-shirts, working all night long and into the morning so that they could be fully stocked after the Cup was won last night in Sunrise, Florida. So those of you who are worried about not being able to purchase something after winning a championship, that's how it's done. Very well-told story, I thought, last night. And this company, by the way, going to do very well for themselves, pulling an all-nighter. And I'm guessing they're still working right now, but 10,000 shirts, that was the number. All right, let's talk a little college football. We're going to be talking some more college football coming up next month, no doubt. Deion Sanders, the head coach of Colorado, never shy with his words. He went on the Joel Klatt show and broke some news on himself, basically saying that at the end of the season, when his son ends up playing in the NFL, he's going to stay at Colorado, saying, quote, I'm a leader of men, not a follower of men. I'm a father, not a baby daddy. I lead my sons. I don't follow my sons. My sons, Travis, meaning Hunter included, are getting ready to migrate to the NFL. I'm not following them to the NFL. I plan on being here and being dominant here. All right, so there you go. So Deion Sanders broke his own news, still going to stay at the University of Colorado. One of the great stories in the early part of the college football season last year. Not so much in the late part of last year, but the Buffaloes are expected to have a better year than they did last year. Defense got to get a little bit better. If it does, I think Deion will be happy with his choice. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to Jose Mota coming on from Sportsnet LA, also Matthew Waters from Legal Sports Report, and Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Also thanks to our associate producer Frank and my producer Michael. I, of course, is Craig Mish, and I'll be back here tomorrow. But before you see me tomorrow, let me tell you what you could watch the rest of the day here on SportsGrid. Early line coming up next in less than 5 minutes. That is followed by our shows coming up later today, 3 o'clock Eastern, Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Game time decisions at 6, in-game live prime time. And then this evening, we have Gabe, who is going to be a very sad Gabe. Sorry, Gabe. The Oilers did not win. I know you said they would, but they did not. They lost to the Florida Panthers. By the way, Joe Madden and Cam both picked the Panthers yesterday, so good job by them. All right, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of NewsWire as we close in on the NBA draft. Have a great night.